Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed listening to the presentations this far. Today, I'm here to discuss an issue which concerns almost every one of you sitting in the audience. Can all the bilinguals please raise their hand? I know you've been asked this question before, but this is different. So I'm here to talk about the issue of translation. How many times have you thought of a word in your mother tongue and have been unable to translate it into English? Or how many times have you thought of a word in English and have been unable to translate it into your mother tongue? That is the issue of translation, and I'm sure all of you can relate to it. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is why translation is impossible. What a perfect translation is unless the tone, syntax, grammar, style, mood of a text remain the same in a translation, the translation is imperfect. How many of you can translate the word walk from English to your mother tongue? How many of you? Okay. But how many of you can translate the word stroll, saunter, trudge, gait, roam, tread, or stride? These are the words you get when you click the synonyms tab on a Word document. The more specific you get, the harder it becomes to translate. And with every detail that is added to a language, it becomes harder and harder to translate. Can I please have the volunteers on stage? Siddhant, Partho, Shanupma. The task of these translators would be to translate a Hindi song to English. Siddhant? No? Can I have another Hindi speaker, please? The first song is
Hello? Okay. Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling. Yeah? Do you want me to play it again? I'll give you my heart, I'll give you my, life. Oh my darling, oh my darling, oh my darling.
A few other responses that I got for this song were, my dear one, dear one, dear one, if I'm ever separated from you, I'll probably die. And my sleep, gold, beautiful, I'll give you my life, don't go away. So the second song is,
talk my bangles. I've become your loved one. I'm all yours.
yeah, that was similar to the ones that I got. The last song. आँखों में तेरी अजब सी अदाएं हैं.
In your eyes, there are different views.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So as you can see, it is very hard to translate the poetry or beauty of one language into another language. And the reasons for this are abstract, and they're in the grammar and the punctuation, and a lot of factors contribute to the differences between the two languages. But why is translation so imperfect? To answer that question, I chose to compare two books by a Hindi author called Vinod Kumar Shukla. In Hindi, the book is called Diwar mein ek khidki rehti thi, and literally it translated to A Window Lived in a Wall. While I compared these two novels, I came across three major differences between Hindi and English that I want to talk about today. The first one is gender, the second one is grammar, and the third one is a cultural difference between the two languages. So let us begin with grammar, or with gender. In Hindi, verbs are used to define or categorize nouns into genders. For example, if we consider the title of the novel itself, it's called Diwar mein ek khirki rehti thi. The noun in this sentence is the khirki, or the window, and the verb is rehti thi, which is feminine. And that makes the noun, or the khirki, a feminine object. The reader implicitly associates the object as a feminine quality. However, in English, this is translated to a window lived in a wall, which is a gender neutral, or lived is the gender neutral verb. And the reader does not associate a window with a specific gender. The second difference that I want to talk about is a difference in grammar, which entails articles and alphabets. Hindi as a language does not have alphabets. English, on the other hand, has two kinds of articles, definite and indefinite. A and an are indefinite articles, and the word the is a definite article. If we consider an example in Hindi, in reference to the sun, we can say, Uska uday aur ast satya tha. There is no article in this. However, if we consider the same sentence translated into English, it says, the rising and setting of the sun were eternal truths. The addition of the word the makes the sentence more powerful and authoritative. It is more definite than it is in Hindi. The second thing that I want to talk about is alphabets. Hindi as a language has 46 alphabets that are officially accepted, 11 of which are vowels, and the 35 remaining are consonants. However, in English, there are only 26 alphabets, 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U, and the rest, 21, are consonants. The difference of these alphabets is evident in the way a word is spelt and the phonetics of the language. Hindi is more phonetic than English, which means that a word is spelt in the same way it is written. There are hardly any words which have silent sounds in them. However, English has many words like need, knock, honest, psychology that have silent words in it. And this difference between the sounds of the two languages is evident in the consonants of a text. When something is translated from English to Hindi or the other way around, the sounds are not the same. The last thing that I want to talk about is cultural differences in the languages. Each language is spoken in reference to a specific context or to a specific history of the culture. Thus, there is a very strong correlationship between the language and culture. Hindi, which is representative of an Eastern language, is more collectivist and more family-oriented. Communal goals matter more than individual goals. English, on the other hand, is more individualistic. Personal goals and benefits matter more than communal ones. Similarly, this is the reason why Hindi has many words that are used to describe more family relationships. For example, what remains only aunt in Hindi can be masi, chachi, bua, or some other auntie in Hindi. And the same can be applied to uncles. Similarly, there are different words to refer to different people. For example, in Hindi, we have aap, a respectful term to refer to somebody older than you. But we have tum or tu to refer to somebody your age or somebody younger to you. In English, we use only the word you to refer to other people. And even if there aren't any Hindi speakers in the audience, the same values can be applied to the Korean language as well. There is a similar version to aap, tum, tu, and there are words to describe family as well. And today, more than any day else, when the number of bilinguals is increasing, we need to be aware of the words we use in reference to our audience. We could think in one language and talk in another language, and the effect won't be the same. And in today's globalizing world, we should be more aware of the way we speak, because it is very easy to get our meaning lost in translation. Thank you.
Thank you, Manvi. Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, I'll ask a question. So in the professional world of translating, I think it's a pretty much almost universal rule that people translate from their second language to their mother tongue, kind of regardless of how fluent they are in both, right? And since they're professionals, you can assume that they're fluent in both. So why do you think that is, that you would be able to retain more meaning or retain more accuracy going from your second language to your mother tongue?
I think one thing that I came across in my research was that a cultural context matters a lot. And when you translate from your second language to your first language, you're aware of what that meaning entails in your own culture. And so it helps the audience. For example, if you're translating from English to Hindi, a Hindi speaker would know what a certain phrase in English would mean for Hindi speakers. And I think the cultural context would help the audience understand better if it's phrased in that way, I think. Yeah.
I had one question. I'm so happy to see you read that novel. It's one of my heroes. I had a question about Hindi in general. Just reading this novel, did you notice a difference between the Hindi style of Shukla and what we see in sort of spoken Hindi and even sort of written Hindi in newspapers nowadays? There's a phenomenon called calking, calques in language, where you're writing in a certain language, but you're actually using the grammar and the idioms and the thoughts of another language. And this is happening a lot in Hindi right now. With a lot of Hindi journalism is really written by English speakers who are using English idioms and English even grammar, but writing it in Hindi words. Did you notice a difference, like a strong difference, between the Hindi in this novel and the Hindi that we maybe see in magazines and newspapers? And what is the difference, if you did notice?
I think one of the major differences that I noticed between the difference in the newspaper writing and his writing was that he takes a lot of, he distracts himself a lot from the plot line. And that was one of the things that was hard to translate into English, because if he talks about the sun, he talks about why the sun rises in the east, which is taken for granted in another language. And he's very philosophical in his views, I think. And he has short sentences compared to long, flowy ones.
So you talked about globalization and the fact that because of globalization, it's important for people to understand these differences in order to communicate, even if they're speaking in the same language, which I completely agree with. But the negative effect of globalization could be that people will lose their own mother tongue and some of these nuances that you're talking about. So I was just wondering if in your research you came across anything about how countries and cultures could work to retain the richness of their language, kind of going off what he said about the prevalence of Hinglish and those kinds of hybrids. So is there anything that you came across or that you think personally that people should do to sort of hold on to that while also experiencing the richness that comes from interacting with other languages and cultures?
I did not really come across as much for research, but personally I think that it is important that people are aware that these differences exist. Because before researching all this, I didn't realize that Hindi didn't have articles. And even though I've been speaking both the languages forever. And I think it's about awareness and knowing what you speak before you actually say it.
Thank you.